Hi everybody, welcome to Outside Lives. This is our Food for Life series. This is episode 3, and today we're talking to Jill Blandford, friend of Outside Lives, around her diet, how it's evolved over the years, what she likes to eat, how she prepares certain things, and the type of diet that she follows. We're not talking specifically vegan, but some of the changes that Jill's made over the years have been to bring her diet to a much more plant-based approach. So Jill, tell me a little bit about your current diet.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
So I think I can say today that I am mainly plant-based. I wouldn't say I was vegan. I think if I lived alone, isolated, I would be completely vegan. But I live in a family. So I've got 2 grown-up children that are still at home who enjoy plant-based food, but also like to eat chicken and bacon. So, and also I'm not a very extreme person. I'm a bit more of a go with the flow person. So, for example, if I went to somebody's house, like my mother-in-law, who forgets that I prefer not to eat meat, and if she's made a fuss and prepared meat, I would eat it because she's made it with love. And for me, that's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's 4 of us in the house. So once a month we have a roast dinner because it's a bit of an occasion, and they get so excited about it. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction. They also, I mean, I do buy meat and they cook their own meats, but not too often.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a control freak as well. So I've got this new love of cooking. So I tend to want to do the cooking, although they do it sometimes. So yeah, we've been experimenting with lots of new sort of recipes, really.
Fantastic. And how do you think it's changed over the years, your diet? I know that you mentioned that obviously having others in the house, especially children or young adults or adults in your case, then yeah, there needs to be a little bit more variety, and that's sometimes quite challenging. So yeah, how's it evolved over the years, and why do you think that is?
Well, it's changed drastically, to be honest. I mean, I know, Natalie, you've got a little girl, but I think there was less awareness when my kids were little. And I often seem to be cooking for lots of their friends. So I think I went for the lowest common denominator. And I have to say, we had lots of fish fingers and chips and lots of pasta. And I thought that to make pasta tasty, you had to add bacon or chicken. I was also working full time. I was working a lot. And so I felt I didn't have much time to cook. So what I would do is I would shop loads of stuff, and then the kids would say, I'm hungry. And then I'd think, oh, what have I got in the fridge or the freezer? And I would just come up with something. And I lived like that for years. So there wasn't much planning going on. But I think because of social media, really, I think we've become a lot more conscious of what is good for us and what is good for the planet and how we can protect the ecosystems. And young people are all aware of that as well. So my big kids have become much more conscious of that through the media and are much more wanting to be healthy in their bodies. Also, as you're probably aware, I am a yoga teacher. And so eating plants is much more in line with the yoga lifestyle.
Yeah.
And recently I've been studying Ayurveda. So I don't know if you know what Ayurveda, well, I know you do, Natalie, but maybe some people that are listening might not. Ayurveda is like a sister science to yoga. And it's about how what we eat becomes who we are, really. And so that's been quite life-changing for me. It really has, particularly since last year in lockdown when I had more time to study and more time to prepare food. It really, that's not too big a thing to say. It really has changed my life. I used to have a lot of headaches all the time. I took a lot of medication for headaches, and changing my diet, I did cut out coffee for a long time. I do have the odd one now because I seem to have got that sort of stable. And I went on an alkaline diet for a couple of months, and it was a nightmare to begin with. It was really difficult, but it really helped my health really. So having less acidic foods helped me sleep a lot better, and I've hardly had any headaches really. So yeah,
it is so interesting, isn't it, the connection between kind of our health and our how we feel, in terms of, you know, what we're actually nourishing our body with. There is such a close connection, and you know, it's definitely something that more and more people are exploring, certainly over the last sort of 10 months or so, when people have been very focused on their health. I think it just goes to show really the amount of people, when you see the reports from Veganuary and the Vegan Association, that, you know, the amount of people who are now exploring alternatives to you know, their traditional omnivore diet, carnivore diet, or you know, there's lots of variations that are very much focused on health and well-being, which is brilliant really, isn't it?
and you know, things like, you know, social media gets bad press, but it's been amazing at introducing ideas. I mean, the Outside Lives Facebook page for foodies, that's been a real inspiration to me. People sharing recipes and pictures of the food, I've loved that.
Yes.
And also just on the Ayurveda, just thinking about not just the food itself, but the habits we have with food. You know, two things that I've tried to do recently is have a warm glass of water first thing in the morning, and that really sort of seems to, you know, I'm hungry, and that water sort of just lets me settles the stomach. And also not least eating really late at night, so it's not digesting. So that's, you know, just little habits like that make a difference really.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so if we come back to your kind of evolution of your plant-based diet, is there anything that you found difficult or challenging around bringing more sort of vegetables and plants into your diet, do you think, or is it something that you have found really easy to adapt to?
No, I think it was difficult. I think at first when I thought, right, I don't want to eat meat anymore, or at least eat less, I didn't know how to make a delicious meal with just vegetables. So I used a lot of substitutes. So the substitute would be instead of the meat. But they weren't always that tasty. And the rest of the family thought they were minging, you know, they didn't want to try them. So that was quite difficult. So I suppose cookbooks have helped really, and more awareness in social media has really helped. And also in this lockdown, I think we've all had a bit more time. Well, maybe you haven't, Natalie, because you've been working hard, but generally people have had more time, and making that a priority. It was never really a priority. I cooked in order to stop people being hungry. I wasn't cooking with the idea that we want our bodies to thrive and to nourish our bodies. So that's been a bit of a mind shift, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is difficult, as you say, you know, there's a lot of pressures on people time-wise at the moment, and, you know, emotional-wise as well. I think sometimes it's easy, isn't it, to just, as you say, go to what's quickest and what's easiest, just to kind of fill your belly, when actually if you kind of stop and think about the other things that you could actually utilize as an alternative, there's so many things out there now, which is brilliant. As you say, lots of choice in terms of the substitutes. I'm only just starting on my journey of those types of things really, and you know, I've found already some that I like and will buy regularly, and some that I will never try again. I think it's that process of, you know, you find some things that work for you when you stick at them, and then you try and evolve that even further. And it's quite exciting now. We've discovered lots of alternatives over the last few months that, you know, we would never even go back to the original option that we would have had as a family, which is nice, I think. So what do you think are your favourite plant-based ingredients? What do you have as an absolute staple? What's always in the store cupboard, and what is your kind of go-to, I guess?
Well, I've made a list, because from the recipes that I've been cooking, there are things that I think if you've got in, any dish can be tasty, and you don't necessarily need to go to the meat substitutes. If you've got lots of veg in, and then you've got these things. So here's my list.
Oh, brilliant.
So good olive oil, makes any dish taste really wonderful, really lubricating. Lemons and limes, cook with those all the time. Garlic and ginger, loads of that in a meal. Soya sauce gives it that salty taste. And tahini, you can make some nice sauces with tahini, which is like ground sesame seeds. It's like peanut butter made with sesame seeds. So that is really an interesting taste. And spring onions, because you can whap them in with anything.
Yeah.
And then I thought about spices. In fact, what I did last summer was, in yoga, we call it a kitchen sadhana, which is like, I suppose, yoga, a cleansing of the kitchen. So thinking that I wanted to change the way I cooked, instead of having my spices in random little pots, I completely emptied my cupboards, and I've got, dead proud of myself, I've got everything in jam jars with labels or big jars. I've moved back all my husband's alcohol to the far corner of the cupboard, and I've got all these really nice jars. So staples there, I've put coriander and cumin.
Yeah.
And so they always make things taste really nice. And the seeds and pods of those.
Yeah.
Turmeric, just a little bit, because that adds lovely colour, but not too much because it goes very bitter.
And you have to be careful with that, staining things in your kitchen as well, don't you?
Yeah. And lentils, I've got loads of different sorts of lentils. So I think with those staples, they sort of can work with any veg. You can make a curry. You know, if you've got coconut milk as well, tins of coconut milk. If you've got spices and coconut milk and add tins of tomatoes and lots of veg, you've got a really lovely curry straight away. And so dressings as well. I like roasting veg, and you can roast almost anything, I think.
Yeah.
So if you make a dressing with like lemons and garlic and olive oil, and mix that up and then put it on the veg. My guys think that that's lovely, and it doesn't take very long at all. So
I think there's some brilliant hints and tips there, Jill. I think they are fantastic. I've got a friend actually that does she calls it once around the fridge, and she does it kind of every now and then, and it's kind of like a big soup that she cooks up with a bit of pasta, but and some passata, but then all of the veg that's just kind of nearing its end a little bit. So I think there's definitely things like that, as you say, using those spices and those herbs and some kind of store cupboard staples. You can really kind of pull together any meal with very little, really, can't you?
And it's also nice to have different colours, isn't it, in a meal? So, if you go to the veg aisle, I mean, I do shop at Lidl, but being attracted to the veg that's got nice colours, or what attracts you that day, and buying those things. And then the internet's terrific. If you've got some random veg, you can just Google, I don't know, aubergine artichoke recipe, and something always comes up. So the internet is a great source of inspiration. I had loads of cookbooks, and to the dismay of my husband, I took loads to charity. Anything that had meat dishes in, or I wasn't going to cook. So I've got about I've got about 6 cookbooks, but I've kept the 2 that I really like. I've got them here, so I know you know them. This one is Bosch, that Lucy Outside Lives told me about.
Yeah.
So that's
a bit like a
brilliant.
Bible, that, for us, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. And then this one, I keep putting pictures of this one up, the green roasting tin. And why I like that is because it's quick. You just throw everything in the roasting tin.
It's fantastic, really, isn't it?
Sorry, go on.
Saving time is brilliant. If you can throw it all into one pot, and save on the washing up as well, it's another box ticked for me, certainly.
I was going to tell you, Natalie, I don't know if I've told you before about my brother-in-law, or my sister and her family. So they live in Manchester, and they're all athletes. My niece and nephew play my nephew plays basketball for England, and my niece plays basketball for Great Britain, and they work out every day. So they're really into the food. And whenever I've been, the fridge is just full of meat to get the protein, and the pans, and everything's got meat in it. And so they did laugh at me a bit when we had a party before lockdown and I asked what was vegan, and that didn't go down very well. But I mentioned the documentary, The Game Changers, and I said, I challenge you just to watch it so we can have a discussion and see what you think. And my brother-in-law is an athlete as well, and they watched The Game Changers, and overnight all became vegan. I mean, it's unbelievable. They were the least people in the world to do that. I mean, my nephew now does eat chicken and fish sometimes, but they've changed their mindset about how to get the nutrition, where the protein is, how to look after your body. So if anybody's watching that hasn't seen The Game Changers, I'm still trying to get my son to watch it. It's interesting for discussion, if nothing else, so.
Absolutely, that's a brilliant recommendation, and I think it's on my list of things I need to check out and watch, so that's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today, Jill. It's been wonderful to find out a little bit more about how your diet's evolved, and what you're really kind of into from a food point of view. Brilliant information and lots of great recommendations, so thank you very much for your time.
Oh, lovely. It's a pleasure. Nice to see you.
Bye, Jill.
See you, Natalie. Bye.